各位好，我是梅塔特隆。荣耀战魂是我的最喜欢的电子游戏，很好玩。最初阵营包括骑士、日本武士，还有北京人，但是现在也有中国的武林，我觉得非常好。Hello everyone, so welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. So, what do we think of this new Chinese-inspired faction, the Wulin? Well, personally, I'd like to say that I am thrilled. I'm very happy to see ancient Chinese dynastic warriors being represented and added to the already rich For Honor universe. But clearly, this is just my personal opinion, this is my personal taste, and I do understand, and I noticed by reading forums, that some people were rather disappointed, whereas other people were happy. Now, clearly, one thing we need to keep in mind is that in a game such as For Honor, choices needed to be made, even more so than other games, because, of course, there was just a limited amount of slots for factions, if you will. Now, even at the beginning of the game, they had to make a choice. You know, you had one Asian-inspired faction, which is the faction of the samurai, and then you had the medieval European knights and the Viking-inspired faction. So already a second Asian faction was not part of the original game. Now, personally, I don't think there is anything wrong with being disappointed. Of course, if some people wanted to see Koreans, or some people wanted to see, I don't know, other possible factions, and it's obvious that they will be disappointed, but I believe that being disappointed is fine. Being offended by it, it's rather stupid. I've noticed some people being offended that the Koreans weren't chosen. Well, here's the thing. With a massive studio such as that, which is producing For Honor, as I said, you need to make choices, and these choices have to make sense within the lore of the game. But also they need to try and make as many of their followers and potential buyers happy as possible. So, what's the current population of China again? The point that I'm trying to draw is, if they chose Korea, the Chinese would have been offended. If they choosing their Chinese, the Koreans are offended. You know, everybody's gonna get offended anyway, so they do need to make a choice, and I think that they made a sound choice. China, ancient China, has a lot of potential for representing and creating epic heroes and incredible battles, and in fact, they drew one of the characters exactly from ancient China, and in fact, we will see that one of the characters that you can play is entirely based on a real Chinese general. And I gotta say, I mean, when they chose to implement the ancient Romans, I was completely sold. You know, I love the Romans, even if I don't particularly like the way they represented the centurion. Still, I'm happy to be able to play with the ancient Romans. So again, the Chinese, I think, is a very good choice, and we will examine each hero individually, sort of do a little historical evaluation of the armor, the weapons that they're using, just out of curiosity, to see if they match real historical weapons and armor of ancient China, and if they do, and if so, what dynasty. Anyhow, one thing I'd like to say about this studio, and something I really appreciate, is it really gives me the idea of the fact that they are trying to make a better game over and over again. So far, I haven't been disappointed with any of their updates. They added tons of content, they added maps, they even improved the graphics, I believe, which already looked amazing anyways. And it seems like the game keeps on getting more and more polished, and I appreciate that. I know it's not like the game for everyone, but personally, it's a game that is bringing me a lot of fun. I'm enjoying playing it with my friends, and I appreciate the fact that they keep on, even after quite a bit of time since release, you can see that the studio is still working on it, trying to make a better game, improving, increasing the number of characters, and also adding new systems, new things that you can do, new battle types. This is all good, so big thumbs up for that. So first off, did they come up with a name? Well, not really. The name is pronounced Wulin. It sort of means fighters of the forest, and in Chinese literature, with that name, they normally refer to a subculture of martial artists who practice wushu, so Chinese martial arts. In traditional novels, the term appears quite a lot, together with the expression Wulin Gaoshou, which means martial arts experts. Now, we've got 4 classes. Let's have a look at these. Now, one that really I was amazed when I saw is the character called Guan Yu. Now, the reason why I was amazed is because that's the actual name of a Chinese general, and what's interesting about this is that, in fact, the name of the class, Jiangjun, it means general in Chinese. I believe it's also the name they use for Chinese chess, or xiangqi. I believe that the piece called General has this name, if I'm not wrong. So the General looks exactly like the Chinese portray him. So I think that was pretty cool. To give a little bit of history about it, it was a general serving under the warlord Liu Bei in the late Eastern Han dynasty, or Han Chao. He played a significant role in the events that led to the end of the dynasty, all of this in the Three Kingdoms period, which is one of the coolest periods in Chinese history. So that was a very good pick. The character that interests me the most, however, is the Tian D. Now, I'm not sure about the meaning of the word Tian D. Of course, Tian means heaven in Chinese, and D, well, it depends what character they use to write it, but if they do use the character for Earth, it could mean heaven and Earth. But I'm not 100% sure about that, so I'll look forward to my Chinese audience to let me know what the name Tian D means. A heavily armored warrior who is wielding a typical Chinese Dao. There are loads of different kinds of Dao, but definitely it is a Chinese Dao because it's single-edged and curved, so differently from the Chinese Jian, which instead is double-edged and straight. Might not be a perfect replica, but it is reminiscent of ancient Chinese swords. But what about the armor he's wearing? Well, here's the thing. It's an interesting choice because the most iconic and typical Chinese armor is that represented by the terracotta army found in the tomb of Qin Shi Huangdi, the first emperor of the Qin dynasty, or Qin Chao, between 221 to 206 BC. So the terracotta warriors display 7 different types of armor tunics. The way these suits of armor work, they are a more flexible armor that was devised, made of small overlapping rectangles, and these rectangles could be made of leather, or perhaps as an alternative, small rectangles of bronze could have been used both together, alone, or in a combination of bronze and leather. All these overlapping rectangles will be held together using leather thongs, hems, hem cords, or rivets. So in general, either scale or lamella would be the most iconic kind of Chinese armor that we should expect. During the time of Mongolian supremacy, mail was also introduced in China, but it never became as widespread as in other parts of the world. So what sort of armor is this then? Is it completely fantasy? Well, it does have some fantasy touches to it, and I think that that's okay. But I believe it is based on a later kind of armor, mostly used either during the Sui dynasty or the Tang dynasty, and it's called cord and plaque. Personally, I think it resembles this rather than earlier examples of scale or lamella. So what is cord and plaque? Well, we find it in pottery figurines of the time, and the armor was composed of large iron plates joined by cords running down the center and across the chest and linked to a cord belt. Now, this cord belt helped distribute the weight away from the shoulders, similarly to European plate armor, similarly to Japanese samurai armor. This was not the only kind of armor used during these periods, but it is a kind of historical armor which involved plate, and this is why I believe it's more reminiscent of this. Another character we have is the Shaolin Monk. In Chinese it's actually pronounced Shaolin, and Shaolin Wushu for the martial art, or Shaolin Kung Fu. Personally, I think an excellent choice. It's kind of strange that he's wearing those. I'm a little bit against forearm metal protection or forearm leather protection. They're a little bit of an obsession, and I don't particularly like those. But apart from that, I think the character looks pretty cool. It would have been cool to see him wearing something orange, perhaps. But at the end of the day, I think the character still looks the part, and I'm really looking forward to see how he plays in combat. Still, out of these, at the moment, my favorite is the Tian D, and my second favorite is definitely Mr. General here. The weapon he's using is a staff. I'm not very knowledgeable in staffs, so I'll have to leave that to you. So if you in the community, if anyone is incredibly knowledgeable about ancient Chinese combat staff, please enlighten us. So last but not least, we've got the Nu Xia, and I believe that that means female warrior or woman warrior, and that is again another typical way of calling ancient Chinese characters who were women and were fighters in Chinese literature. So they have definitely done a lot of research into choosing and selecting warriors that would come from the traditional Chinese culture, and I think that is really cool. The sort of weapon she's using, they are real swords again, and they're called hook swords. They belong to some Chinese martial arts. So all in all, I think these characters look pretty good. They look pretty believable. They look like they are grounded in history and then enhanced through imagination and fantasy, but to a level that is not too much. So personally, I really like the choices that they have made. I like the weapons, and as I said, I'm really looking forward to try these characters out, and perhaps if you want, I could make some gameplay videos playing with these characters, and we'll see how they play and which one is actually my favorite after all. Alright number ones, well I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more content from the Metatron. If you want to know more about ancient Chinese weapons and armor, let me know, because I will increase my knowledge on these topics and then perhaps make content about it if that's what you want. Also, Mr. Meron Panchudoku, yes, it was me you spoke to in that social media site. Just a person I randomly chatted to. I like chatting with my audience occasionally, so when they find me, it's cool to talk. Now, it was kind of funny because he thought it was a fake. It wasn't really me. It's like it's impossible that a big YouTuber can chat with his audience like that. So no, it was me. Thank you very much, and remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Goodbye.